Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our movie club. Today we will discuss a movie, Red Cliff, China's one, made in 2008, 2008, as teacher Lee told me. So Red Cliff, red, I guess because of blood, right? Sergey, was any blood in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, some of
Enough.
I am lucky then.
Yeah, it's a kind of a battle drama or something, a lot of war happening. I don't know how to start. Obviously, we cannot follow through the whole story, right? So let's mention some main parts or something. Let's start with how to say it, preset, like circumstances, how it started, where and when.
I put a couple quotes in the Telegram area, Ivan.
Yep.
One of them was the narration at the beginning of the movie in the American version.
Okay. Sergey,
The opening narrative, that may be a good start.
I know you are from mobile. Can you read, Sergey?
Yes.
Can you please read this for us? We will check your pronunciation, like on exam.
1 second.
What a good teacher.
Yes,
Okay.
the year is 208 AD. What's AD? It's new era.
Common era, yeah.
I meant.
Current times.
Current. How pronounce this AD? Just AD?
We say AD, yeah.
Okay.
Lee, is it Anno Domi? Something
Correct.
like that. Yeah,
AD,
Anno Domi.
AD stands for Latin. It's Anno Domini.
Right.
Which is in the year of our Lord.
Right.
Which means that Jesus has died and been reborn.
Okay.
So we call after Jesus's death and rebirth, we say we are living in the year of the Lord. So AD means after Christ died and was reborn.
Okay.
Thank you, Lee.
Sergey, I'm sorry, I will interrupt you for a second, but I think there is some small details that we have to mention. You know, in China, they have own calendar. It's not started with AD. They have own like versions. For instance, Buddha calendar or something. So for now, they have not 2020. They have 6,000 something. Do you know this? So probably it's I don't know what is this 208 reference to. Maybe it's a Buddha calendar or our calendar.
The Gregorian calendar.
Gregorian. Okay, so it's not far away, let's say. Only 2,000 years. Okay, Sergey, sorry for interruption. You know, please continue.
I read the message from teacher Lee.
Yes.
After years of civil war, a deathly calm has fallen of northern China. One by one, the rebel warlords have met there and under the sword of Prime Minister Cao Cao. Now, even the Han Emperor bows before his power. Yet from the south, a challenge is heard. Two leaders arise against Cao Cao's tyranny, the aging Liu Bei, and the inexperienced San Quan. So Cao Cao petitions the emperor to brand these men as traitors and declare a new war against the peaceful Southlands.
Okay, it's the beginning. Leila, have you noticed any mistakes in pronunciation?
For sure. But it is not good to correct them when teacher Lee is around, and I don't want to correct on the spot. On the spot, it is not right.
It is right, Leila. It's kind of, you know, like double learning. You know, you teach Sergey and teacher Lee correct your mistake if you.
You know what I usually do? I take notes and correct them afterwards.
Okay, so what I noticed, okay, I know you're looking shy or something. Leila, stop it, please. So what I noticed, it was traitors.
Yes.
And what else? Bows before his power. Bows, I guess, right?
Yeah, bows.
Yeah, bows.
Okay. Okay, bow. Ah, teacher wrote this already. Bow to bend at the waist. Okay.
I like it.
Bow is like a bow and arrow,
Mhm.
a rainbow,
Yeah.
a hair bow, to bow under the weight. Oh. But bow is the front of a ship
Mhm.
and to bend at the waist in respect.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So we know. Okay, we got someone. So we know like circumstances. So it's a It's not medieval time, right? It's how we call it, ancient time.
ancient time. It's a long time ago.
Okay, Leila, do you know something about Han Dynasty in China?
I heard some things about the dynasty, but I'm not sure. I watched the film once, but I don't remember a lot.
It was not covered in this movie. Gerard, do you know something about dynasty in China's dynasties?
Yes, I think Teacher Lee wrote something about the history of China. And the Han Dynasty was a very important one. I think China was united
Mhm.
with the Han Dynasty.
Emperor Qin for China is the one that united everything and declared China. Han is an ethnicity of the Chinese. They have probably, I think right now they have about 60 ethnicities in
Yeah.
China. Han is the majority ethnicity. So most of the Chinese in China are Han ethnicity. The other guys are called minorities. The Uyghur, the Muslim guys, they're one of the minorities. There's like 56 minorities, and they've all been kind of pushed over to the west part of China. The Han ethnicity are the upper class, and the minorities are kind of looked down on.
Mhm.
How long did it last? The dynasty, I mean, Lee.
There's different. They had a lot of different dynasties.
I guess 1,000 years. Whenever it comes to China, it lasts for 1,000 years at least.
Yeah, it's a lot of fighting in China's history. People are always taking over, so they have many different dynasties.
Mhm.
In my NEE group, I put a history of China that explains a lot of this.
Okay.
Let me talk a moment about this movie because it's in Chinese, it's a little hard to follow and the names are difficult to pronounce.
Mhm. Mhm.
But basically, this was a time and period called the Three Kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about three kingdoms, okay? The north is one kingdom, and the south and I think it was the east, are two smaller kingdoms. And a famous Chinese writer wrote a story about this period in time, and it's called The Romance of the Three Kingdoms. And it's very famous in English or in Chinese literature, very famous. Every Chinese knows The Romance of the Three Kingdoms. This movie is fictitious, but it's based on that period when there were three kingdoms fighting each other. So this is a fictional story based on a true situation in history, but dramatized, with romance and kung fu and sword fights and things like that. The three kings, one king is a young kid, and Cao Cao is the bad guy in this movie, and he's the prime minister under this young kid king. And he put this kid king in power. So Cao Cao wants to conquer all the kingdoms of China. So he wants to beat the other two kingdoms. So he goes to this young kid king and says, I want to attack these other two kingdoms and conquer them. And the kid says, well, why go to war? Let's maintain peace. The kid doesn't really care. He didn't want to go to war. But Cao Cao's ambitious. He wants to take over these other two kingdoms and declare himself and then overthrow the kid that he put in power so he can become the king of all of China. So he's got great ambitions. So he intimidates the kid into authorizing him as the prime minister to conquer the other two kingdoms. So Cao Cao starts marching his troops down south to conquer the other two kingdoms. They're smaller and more peaceful. The other two kings, one is Liu Bei, and he's an older guy, but wise and just and liked by his people. And the other king is Sun Quan. He's got a peaceful kingdom. They aren't really that experienced in war, but they've got naval skills. So Liu Bei has a tactician working for him called Zhu Ge, also called Kung Ming. And Zhu Ge is a genius strategist. He's a tactician. He can do tricks to deceive the enemy and beat larger forces using cunning. So Liu Bei knows that he can't beat Cao Cao because Cao Cao is a bigger kingdom. So Zhu Ge says we need to get the other king, Sun Quan, to join us, to ally with us. Together, maybe we can beat Cao Cao and protect the south of China. So Zhu Ge goes to Sun Quan's kingdom and asks for him to join Liu Bei. Well, the king, Sun Quan, he's kind of an indecisive guy. He doesn't really want to go to war. So he kind of says, I need to think about it, and he leaves. So Zhu Ge figures out that the king's not really a strong guy. The king trusts his right-hand man, who's a general. So Zhu Ge goes to the general to convince the general, and he figures the general will convince the king. So the general likes to play music, the zither or the guzheng. So the general meets Zhu Ge and asks Zhu Ge if he can play music. So Zhu Ge says, I know a little bit. And the guy says, I've heard about you. You know a lot. So they play a musical duet, kind of like the dueling banjos in Deliverance. And Zhu Ge's assistant's going, why are we wasting time playing music with this guy? He says, this guy's music is his battle, is his war.
I think I remember this scene. It was very interesting when this assistant say, why we go out without getting the answer? He says, we got the answer. The answer was in his music.
That's right. Because Zhu Ge's music skills were equal to the general's music skills, which his name's Zhou Yu. I'll call him Joe. So Zhu Ge and Joe play this musical duet, and they kind of earn each other's respect. So Zhu Ge leaves knowing that Joe is going to go to his king and say, we've got to support this guy. So the two kings unite against Cao Cao. So the main players in this are Zhou Yu, the general, the fighter, the musician, and Zhu Ge, the tactician. Those are the two main guys. The kings are extraneous. They don't do much. It's the general and the tactician that work together. So that's the gist of the movie. You see these two guys work together. One guy likes to fight, and one guy likes to think and plan cunning tricks. Yeah. And they work together to beat Cao Cao throughout the movie. So that's kind of where we are now.
Well, you would like this handsome guy who always what he's doing? He's I forgot how to call this thing.
Vent?
Vent?
Oh, fan. Zhu Ge has the feather fan. Yeah.
Feather fan.
Thank you, Ivan.
Yeah, Zhu Ge doesn't talk much. He just sits there calm and fans himself. He knows what's going to happen and he knows how to respond. He just very calm all the time.
Yeah,
I don't like very calm people anyway.
And when people ask why you do that, to be calm, you know, to have a calm mind or something.
Now, there's two other major players. They're women. Layla, you'll like these. Zhou Yu, the general, the fighting general that's going to help Zhu Ge. He's got a wife, and she's named, we'll call her Xiao Xiao or Xiao Xiao. She's very beautiful. Now, Cao Cao likes Xiao Xiao. But that's the general's wife. But he's always loved this woman, and he wants to conquer Joe and get his wife for himself. Okay.
Wow.
And then there's another young woman. She's somebody's sister. And when she heard the two kingdoms were going to join together to fight this war against Cao Cao in the north, she was excited. And she said, I want to be in this war. I want to help. You know,
Wow.
and her brother said, you're a girl. You're not going to do anything.
But Layla, you would
Zhuge-
like, you
Yeah.
like she knows, you know, some vulcan trick. She can switch off the man, right?
Wow.
So Zhuge is sitting over there, you know, fanning himself, and he's noticing that this girl is passionate about helping in the war, but the brother won't let her. So later, Zhuge gives her some key roles to play in helping them win the war. So Zhuge is very smart. Anyone that can do something, he finds a use for them. That, you know, didn't put her in super danger. She's not fighting in battle, but he finds some tactical use for her skills that really help them win the war. So she gets to participate, and she's very
Right.
proud, you know. So those are the key characters.
Yeah.
The three kings are kind of minor. Cao Cao is the bad guy, and you've got Joe, the general, and Zhuge, the tactician.
Right.
And that's the three main players in the movie. Okay, I'll let y'all.
I
continue.
love that Cao Cao and Xiao Xiao.
Yeah.
Xiao Xiao, yeah.
Ciao, ciao, and ciao, ciao. Yeah, nice. But that part, that romantic relations, it's totally, you know, non-covered. At some point, we just know that she liked her, and someone asked him, "Do you start the whole war because of the woman?" It was a surprise. Why? We are not prepared. And and it's interesting. It's interesting, I guess, because, you know, this movie, as Teacher Lee said, it's a fictional movie based on some stories, and these stories, they are a common like knowledge in China. So you don't have to explain anything. You don't have to explain that Cao Cao likes Xiao Xiao. Everyone knows. Of course, it's there. So and it's interesting when you watch the movie by unprepared eyes, you just always surprised.
It's like in Russia, Anna Karenina's book.
I love that film. Come on, Gerard. I cried a lot.
Everybody knows this book in Russia.
Yeah, it's a like a plot that everyone knows, so you can make reference to this plot, and you don't have to explain it.
Exactly.
So, and another part of culture. So one part of culture, it's interesting, and I think these small myths that we all know, and that it's even hard to share, you know, because how to share it? It's obvious, so they don't bother to explain. And another part that I like, it's how we can see culture through the movie. So we can see that this movie, it's kind of different than what we usually see, right? The scenes are very slow. I would say they are all not to follow the story, but to contemplate the picture, you know. So it's always, Layla, it's always very vivid, you know, all these flags and I don't know, millions of people in this sense. And they all moving like dancing, you know. It's like a march. So they do a million people do exact the same movement in the same second. So I'm impressed. It's like a ballet in Russia.
Wow.
I'll mention an interesting fact. You know, in English, we say "speak of the devil," right?
Right.
The Chinese equivalent, they say, if you say Cao Cao, then Cao Cao's going to arrive.
Wow.
So that's how they say "speak of the devil." Don't say his name. Don't say Cao Cao, because he'll appear.
Wow.
So he's kind of a boogeyman in Chinese history.
I see.
It's the first time I've heard about it. Okay.
Once we did a movie, Nameless or Hero, I don't forget the title. It was kind of very similar. It's based, I guess, on some myths that's similar. Some pictures are very similar. So it was interesting. Gerard, tell us something. What did you like in this movie? What you don't
So
like?
I only watched the first part of the movie because I think the American one is the whole movie, two movies together in one only movie.
Yep, perhaps.
So before they the movie finished when the moment before the big battle. So Chow Chow was ready to fight.
So you only watched the first battle, right? The first
Yeah,
battle when they built a castle with their shields.
Turtle, a tortoise, how do you call it? Tortoise?
Tortuga.
Turtle?
Turtle. Yeah, there was the turtle formation.
There's another word, tortoise or something like this.
Oh, tortoise.
Torres. Okay, Torres.
Yep, there were two major battles in this movie. One was on land, and the key to that was a battle formation called the turtle or tortoise formation. And the second one was the naval battle that happened at Red Cliff.
I guess, Teacher Lee, that your version, your American version, as Gerard said, combined two parts. So most of us, I guess, Gerard and Vasants, I guess, watched only first part. So it was only battle on the land without the second part.
But I was going to ask Lee, why Red Cliff? Now I have understand.
It's the name of a part of the river where the naval battle takes place.
Right.
Okay, sorry for interrupting you for a second. Josefina, hello. We are discussing a Chinese movie called Red Cliff. Did you have a chance to watch it? You probably don't hear us. Okay, I'm sorry. And Mata, hello. Mata, are you willing to speak? Tell us something. Okay, we have many participants, but they are all numb. So
okay, so
yes, sorry.
So let's talk about the first battle. This movie is kind of hard to discuss, so I'll kind of guide us here. So the first major battle was the land battle. Chow Chow had a big army, just thousands and thousands of men, and the other two kingdoms, Zhou and Zhuge, they had smaller armies working for them. So they had to use some kind of strategy to beat this larger army. So they used some military manipulations, formations called the turtle formation or tortoise formation. Turtle has a shell, right? So it has to do with making a shell so that nothing can penetrate the shell. So if you shoot arrows at a turtle, the arrows hit the shell and the people are safe underneath the shell. So it has to do with that kind of a battle strategy. So first, they had to draw the army into a certain area. So does anybody remember how they drew the bad army into the area of battle? What trick did they use? Who remembers?
Let's ask Vasants. He's so quiet. Vasants, can you describe this trick?
Which one?
When they lured, this Chow Chow army to the tortoise formation. Okay, Vasants, I will ask you later then. Gerard, please, could you?
Yeah, it was the girl, the sister of the Viceroy, this young Viceroy.
Okay.
So she wanted to be part of the war, and she had some mates that were well trained, and they had horses, and they lured the cavalry, or how do you call cavalry or cavalry?
Cavalry's okay. Cavalry.
Right.
So they they lured the cavalry to a trap. One beautiful trick was the horses with branches, and they made a lot of dust, and they couldn't see the cavalry couldn't see their enemies.
Yeah.
And they were well prepared to they had a trap for them, thanks to these girls.
Okay,
so modern armies, they use smokes for this purpose, right? They use a lot of smoke to hide what happens.
Dust, smoke of dust.
Yeah. So what Juga did, he got this girl that wanted to participate in the war, and he said, I've got a job for you. Take some women, get on horses, ride up to the bad guys, shoot some arrows at them, and run away. So they went up, so these big armies marching along, and suddenly one guy gets an arrow through his neck, you know. Oh, and the girls shoot a bunch of arrows at the army and kill some people. And the army looks at those, and then the women turn around and run away. And the men said, what a bunch of girls, let's go get them, you know. So they chase after these girls. Well, the girls got fast horses, so they can't catch the girls. So the girls are riding fast, and to hide the trap, Juga has men on horses dragging tree branches across the dirt. So there's a big dust storm. So the girls ride into the dust storm, and the bad guy's army follows into the dust. And then the girls split apart, and the army goes into the turtle formation. So they go into an area, and then the soldiers surround them with a whole bunch of shields, and they put all the shields together to make like a turtle shell. So the guys on horses can't hit the men because they're protected by the turtle shell. So, and then the turtle shell formation slowly closes in and traps these guys, and they basically they wipe out the big army using trickery.
Yeah. Trick is divide and conquer, right?
Divide and conquer, yep.
Conquer. So divide to small parts, and they built like a labyrinth from these shields, I would say. It was kind of a labyrinth. Okay, but Vasant, do you remember this scene? This on-land battle with this formation? Vasant, do you hear?
With a huge formation.
Yeah, with a huge formation. Do you remember this?
Yeah. Yes. It almost looks like a circle strategy. Once the enemy goes in, they cannot get out. So the deeper they go, the harder they can get out. So it's impossible to get out of that formation. So they have to fight until they get tired. There's no way of escaping. That's a very popular strategy in ancient wars.
Do you remember they actually tried to escape, but making a rotating circle with small shields? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
They
made a shield cover. Yeah. They made a shield cover and.
What was the idea, and how they prevented this escape?
Yes. They covered themselves with their armors, and occasionally they used their attack. They used their weapons, but mostly they used their armors to defend themselves. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it was interesting. It was a big turtle inside the small turtle.
Yeah.
Certain one.
And the way they defeated it was Juga had some kind of a tool. It was like a long metal cable with spikes on it. And the horses kind of drew that around the turtle formation in a big circle, and then they tightened it, and those spikes went into the formation and stabbed all the guys behind the shields.
Wow.
So yeah, actually the trick was to use, horsepower for that, because I watched a video once when 100 people or like that tried to make a competition with one horse, and they lose this competitions. It was the same. Josefina, hello. We don't hear you.
Hi, hello everybody.
Yeah.
Hello.
We are fine.
Hi.
Long time
Hello.
didn't see you. So we're discussing a Chinese movie, Red Cliff. Did you have a chance to watch it?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Okay, don't worry. We will describe it a bit, and we have a lot of slides to describe. Okay.
Yeah, the second battle was a naval battle.
Yeah.
Now, Chow Chow's soldiers were land soldiers, so they were getting seasick and throwing up on their ships. So he was afraid to go to battle immediately, so he camped his ships at a place called Red Cliff, and he tied the ships together with boards so that they were kind of stable so his soldiers wouldn't get seasick. And they were kind of getting ready for battle. Across the river, the other two smaller armies they had a small number of ships, but not as many as the big navy. So they were waiting for the moment when Cao Cao would attack. And they really had no chance. They only had a small number of ships to thousands of ships. It was massive navy. So they needed another trick. So Zhuge was a weatherman. He had studied weather patterns, and he looked at he studied the clouds for a few days, and he realized that the wind direction was against them. So in naval battles, they like to use fire because the ships are all wood. So in this battle, they realized that the wind was going to be blowing towards them. So the bad guy could use fire, and the wind would blow the fire into the good guys and burn all their ships up. So they didn't know what to do, how to beat this huge navy. So Zhuge studied the weather, and he realized that in 2 days, the wind would change direction and blow towards the bad guys, and that would give their fire attack an advantage. But they had to delay the bad guys from attacking until 2 days. So luckily, the bad guys got a virus outbreak, typhoid, and a lot of their men died. And this was just luck, okay? So who remembers what the bad guy did when all of his soldiers got sick?
I guess only Sergey watched it. Sergey, what they did with infected bodies?
Yes, I watched at this moment, but I wanted to tell to teacher Lee that you forgot about the moment. Then a good guy created the special ships for collection arrows because because they had to have 100,000 arrows. After this accident, Cao Cao killed two generals who would know about wind direction. And after that, good guys solved the problem because they know that only good guys know about wind direction. It's all.
Yeah, it was a complicated plot, right? So they framed the general, right, of Cao Cao. Am I right?
Yeah.
Is it the right word, Tishli? Framed?
Yep. Framed,
okay.
yep.
Framed. And they used small figures like scarecrow made of straws to collect all these arrows. Because they had, as they said, we have only 30,000 arrows, and against us, 100,000 enemy. What we have to do? We need more arrows for that.
So this was a good trick, okay? The small armies, the weak guys, needed a lot of arrows to fight. They needed ammunition to fight the war, and they only had a small number of arrows. The bad guy had lots and lots of arrows, so they needed to somehow reduce his supply of arrows and increase their supply of arrows to kind of balance the arrow battle, if you will.
Yeah.
So Zhuge came up with a plan. He also knew from the weather that one night was going to be foggy. So he had his side build some little small boats covered in straw for protection. And he sailed these boats towards the enemy fleet in the fog. And they had some drums. Boom, 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 boom. And the enemy's sitting over there, and they hear these drums in the fog. And they see these little boats out there, and they get scared, and they go, whoa, Zhuge's got some kind of trick. Everybody get your arrows ready, fire! And they start shooting thousands and thousands of arrows at these boats in the fog. and the boats are all arranged with, let's say, the left side of the boat facing the enemy. So all these arrows hit all these straw boats, and just thousands of arrows stick in these boats. And the boats get so heavy on one side, the boats all start leaning from the weight of all the arrows. So then Juga, after a while, he's drinking tea. Once in a while, an arrow goes through the boat and barely misses him, and he just drinks his tea. And he says, okay, turn the ships around. So then the ships turn around and put the other side towards the enemy. And they play the drum some more. Boom, 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 boom. So the bad guys shoot more arrows, thousands of arrows, and they hit the other side of the ship. And then that balances the ships, and they come back level again. Arrows in both sides of all these straw boats. Then after a while, Juga says, that's enough. Let's go home. So then the boats leave and go back home.
Yeah.
So
I
he
would say-
collects 100,000 arrows this way.
I would say that in this episode, in this scene, as is in the whole movie, the battle itself wasn't important. What was important, it was, the whole picture, how beautiful it is, how they drink their tea, and music was perfect. And
Yeah.
so battle is just on behind this, this perfection.
Yeah, Chinese like to express the nature of harmony and nature and the value of calm and thinking and the finer points of life that make life worth living. This battle's kind of a, undesirable, bloody part of life that we try to not think about too much.
Josefina, have you visited China?
Yes, one time, but not mainland China, but just, Hong Kong.
Okay. Do you like Chinese, movies, pictures, all this exotic
Oh
things?
yeah, I like that, and I have a favorite that is the, well, I forgot the name right now. That is, they get together the women and they do cooking and all this. It's I forgot what's the name, but it's very nice movie. Yeah, I like Chinese movies.
Do you know this symbol yin and yang in China?
Mm,
Very, very famous one.
No.
No? Leila, do you know this?
Yeah,
Have
white
you-
and black one, like a bowl, and it means the good and bad.
Yeah, it's as teacher Lee said, they value harmony in everything,
Yeah,
So it must be like a big harmony. Vasant, please.
it's
Okay. Do you remember the musical sequences? A couple of musical sequences here. One is the child playing flute,
Yeah.
and the other one is the question and answer session with the two, about war.
Yeah.
But the previous one was pretty soothing. But the second one almost it sounds like a cacophony for me.
So not a real music, right? What is
Yeah.
cacophony? Jart, what is cacophony?
So some sounds that don't make sense, that are not harmonic, the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just if you give instruments to unprepared people and they all play together. Josefina, please.
I remember the name of the movie, Joy Luck Club by Anton Aniton.
Okay.
I like this movie very much, so I forgot for a moment the name.
Okay, so Vasant, for you it was like a cacophony, right? This Chinese music. It's interesting because people who like professionals in music, they say that our ears have to be prepared to music. So we have to hear it for some time without common patterns, without being prepared. For us, it's something unpleasant. But when your ears can figure out small patterns, it became an art. So
And that music part was also the child's flute part is really relatable to our culture. Also, it blooms our how to say that, it's a reminiscing music. It generates nostalgic feels.
That was actually a very important scene. This was when Juga had gone to the other king to get his help, and Zhou Yu, the general, was practicing his troops. He was watching his troops practice fighting, and suddenly they hear this son, or I guess this guy's son, playing this little flute, and it sounded a little bit unpleasant. So when Zhou Yu heard the boy playing the flute, he stopped his army, and everyone just stopped immediately. And they're all just listening to this boy play this flute. And Zhuge is watching. And he sees that Zhou Yu stopped his whole battle practice just to listen to his son play the flute.
Exactly, yeah.
So
the power of art, right? Power of...
So Zhou Yu walks up to the little boy and says, "Give me that flute." And it looks like he's just going to tear that kid to pieces for ruining his battle practice.
So the kid
it's
gives
exactly
him
what
the
I
flute.
expected.
Do you remember? Because he had a knife or almost like a small sword, and he was with a scary face to this child. So there was another old guy behind, and he was so scared. So I decided that they will kill a boy now, for this.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to take the boy's flute and cut it in half with a knife. So he takes the boy's flute and he holds it very gentle, and he takes his knife and he makes 2 holes in the flute a little bit larger. And then he gives it back to the boy and says, "Try it now." And it sounds beautiful. And Zhuge is watching this. That's how he knows that Zhou Yu loves music, and that's how he used his music duet to win this guy's trust. So that was kind of a key scene in the movie.
To build relationship, right?
Yeah, trust and observation. Oh, this guy really loves music, That's the way to win his respect.
Gerard, please.
Another thing related to this moment, the old man and the boy, they had an ox water stolen by some soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And the general wanted to punish the soldiers because, okay, that's not fair. And knew the soldiers that would have stolen the ox would have mud in their feet. And then he sent some soldiers to do some running, and they had to cross a pond. So all of them they would have mud in their feet. So otherwise he should have killed them, because the punishment for this felony was death. So he didn't want to punish so hard his soldiers and did his trick, but he warned them not to do that anymore.
Yeah. So how we call it? Looting, right? Or when soldiers do it, is it a marauder or something?
Pillage? Looting?
How we call it? So, teacher Lee, when soldiers do some looting, when they take things from civilians, how we call this?
Just looting is good.
Okay.
Looting or pillaging.
Pillaging, okay. Teacher Lee, when you described this naval battle and naval strategy, I wrote 2 small questions. So, first one, how we call this illness that people not prepared to see have? So when they, on the board, they have illness, they start to vomit or something.
We call it typhoid fever. It's deadly. Mm-hmm. It can kill you quickly. So one of the things the bad guy did was a bunch of his soldiers got sick and they all died. So
I'm sorry, teacher, I am asking about another thing. When you are not really a sailor and you go to the boat for a trip, you have a kind of disease.
Seasick.
Seasick, okay. And about typhoid, we forgot to ask Sergey. Sergey, you were going to tell us about what he did with infected bodies.
Yes, they have the people of South had problem with typhoid, and they had some problem with skin, and they had problem with neck, and they had high temperature, and after that they died. But good guy had drugs from that. They prepared something from the trees of China, I don't know what is it, but these drugs help them to make typhoid slower, and they had a chance to go from typhoid without problem.
Yeah. So teacher wrote in the chat that Chow Chow eventually sent all these dead bodies, you know, to Southern Army, to Army of Three Kingdoms. So when farmers or peasants, they tried to loot and got infected. So, you know, they didn't know that you have to wash your hands and wear mask. So it's
Well, they didn't even know the bodies were sick, really. They just, what are
But
these
they-
dead bodies? Yeah, let's go loot them, you know.
but they have how we call this, ulcers,
Yeah, sores or ulcers.
ulcers or sores. Okay, so they have like visible marks of some disease. I wouldn't touch that.
Yeah, they should have figured it out. Now, so what happened was the bad guy lost a bunch of soldiers, so he decided to use curiosity. So he sent the dead bodies on boats to the good guy side, and people didn't know these bodies were diseased and infected. So people started looting the bodies, and the disease spread on the good guys' side. So now the good guys' armies are dying. So Juga comes up with a drug to kind of fight the disease.
Mhm.
Now, Juga knew about this because Juga had a spy in the bad guy's army. You might remember the enthusiastic girl that wants to help?
Yeah.
Well, Juga sent her to the bad guy's camp as a spy. So she dressed up like a bad guy soldier, and she moved around the bad guy's camp drawing a map of the bad guy's camp.
I'm sorry, teacher. Let me interrupt you for a second. Vasants, have you watched this part of?
Yes, I watched that.
Yeah. So what did she use for transferring messages? Can you explain us?
Yeah, she used a dove, a pigeon, to send the drawn message to the base camp. Yeah, I
Yep.
wonder how they didn't suspect a girl in that room.
Yeah, but explain us more. Why pigeon? Why she can use these pigeons? Why she can get a bird and to ask bird to deliver a message? So how it works?
I don't know, maybe to avoid suspicion of the enemy camp. No. I don't
Leila,
know.
do you know how this post pigeons works?
I think they must be trained for this, right? Because pigeons are well known just by posting stuff everywhere. I don't know. They must be trained.
Well, it's not only training, it's kind of a habit. You make a home for pigeon and it always return to your home. So if I want you to write me a message, I give you my pigeons to you. If you want that I wrote to you, you give me your pigeons.
Okay, so they find their way, Ivan?
Yes, they always find their way, and they do it, one night, so very, very fast. It's a very, and Teacher Lee wrote in our chat that homing pigeons are extinct now. Teacher Lee, we have a lot of these houses in Moscow for pigeons.
Lee, why didn't you write it before I answered him? He's always teasing me.
So I don't know why, but in Russia we love life like this. Male pigeons, we still use them like sport or something.
Maybe it is natural, Ivan, right?
Maybe it's natural. I never owned one, but in every house building we have a small house for pigeons, so you can use them. It's a nice part.
So this girl was a spy, so she sent a message back by pigeon that said epidemic outbreak. And when he read that, he went, "Oh no." And then he saw the dead bodies on the boat and he realized that was a diseased body and it was a trap. So he was able to limit the damage because his spy warned him that there was a deadly virus outbreak in the good guy's camp. And he put two and two together and realized these dead bodies were diseased. So he was able to stop the people before everybody got infected.
Usually, you also mentioned that they have like they use fire for naval battle. So how we call this? You know, this I don't know, using projectiles that use fire, something igneous or something like this.
We would just call them fire bombs.
Fire bombs. Okay.
Remember, the Chinese invented gunpowder.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they knew how to use gunpowder to make small bombs. So they would get clay pots and fill it with gunpowder and other stuff to make an explosion. And they were going to use these to cause fires on the enemy ships. And this one guy in the movie, he was I guess a general or the brother, maybe the general's brother, Joe Yu's brother. He was in charge of the firebomb strategy. So he was trying to get a good bomb. So he'd say, test the bomb. And the guy would throw the bomb and it would make a little small fire. Bigger. So the guy would go back and make a bigger bomb and throw it. Bigger. So they kept trying to satisfy this guy. And finally they made one. When it blew up, it just engulfed him in flame, like boom. And he turns around with black all over his face and hair smoking. That's good. So they made these big fire bombs to use in the naval battle. Okay. So the enthusiastic girl, she had two key parts in the movie. She lured the army into the turtle formation to trap them and destroy them. And then she was a key spy in the bad guys' camp, sending information back to the good guys. Now, while she was over there, she also drew a map of the camp, listing where every person was, where all the ships were, a very detailed map on a piece of cloth about 10 meters long. I don't know how she did that. So she comes back to the good guy camp the night of the battle, and she takes off her robe, and all the men go, and they turn away, and she gets one of her female maids to grab a cloth wrapped around her body, and she says, take this and pull it that way. And she turns around, and they unwrap this 10-meter cloth from her body, so she's near naked, and then she puts her robe back on, and this cloth is a map of the bad guys' camp. So the good guys study this map. Now, during the virus, there was another trick in the movie. When the virus hit the good guys and some of the army started dying, remember the good guys is two kings united. One was Liu Bei and one was Sun Quan. When this virus hit, it killed a bunch of Liu Bei's men. So Liu Bei said, oh, this is horrible. I can't, I'm leaving. So you can't leave. We joined together to beat Cao Cao. No, I didn't count on this virus. This killed a bunch of my men. I'm leaving. I quit. Liu Bei took all of his army and they left. So now you've only got the Sun Quan army, and they're too small to have a chance. So word of this, I guess the bad guy has a spy too. So the spy goes back to the bad guy and says, half of the army left. Their alliance broke up and one half left. They're weak and they don't have a chance now. So the bad guy, Cao Cao, oh, this is good. You know, he's just so confident that you know, the Liu Bei left
It was a
Sun
trick,
Quan's
right?
alone, you know.
It was a trick, right?
It was a trick, yeah. But the soldiers didn't know about it, so their outrage was real.
Mhm.
How dare he leave us? He's our ally, you know. And everyone was all mad and angry. So Liu Bei's army leaves. They study the girl's map, so they know where all the armies are on land, and they know where the Navy ships are and how they're arranged and joined together by wooden planks so the sailors don't get seasick. So on the night of the battle, they need a few more hours. The wind direction hasn't changed yet. And they said, he's getting ready to attack. We don't have time. The wind, we need a couple more hours. So the general's wife, Zhou Yu's wife, Xiao Xiao,
Mhm.
she hears this.
Let me ask someone else.
Okay.
Vasants, do you remember the story with Shao Shao and Chao Chao?
About the
The
wife?
audience, yeah.
Yeah. She went there alone to tackle him. What do they call it, teacher Lee? To make him
To beg
to
him
stand
is
there.
good. Yeah.
To beg him. Okay. And also she tried to make him stall, make his troop stall for a few minutes until the wind changes its direction. So she made some tea and served him. So he was flattened by her beauty, and especially she turned just like the picture he had in his room. So it resembled him. It somehow triggered him. So yeah, that's how she flattened him.
Okay. So she sneaks away and goes to the bad guys' camp. She has to sneak away because nobody's going to let her go to the bad guys.
Mhm.
And she's taken to Chow Chow, and he comes out and looks at her, and oh, he is so happy. She's so beautiful. And all the army's watching, right? This woman walks up, and Chow Chow walks up to her and looks at her and smiles at her and says, please come in. So she and Chow Chow go inside his big tent.
So a lady with a cup of tea stopped the whole army of 100,000 men just for 2 hours. Leila, is it the power of
Power of women.
power of
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was leaving to go to battle, and she said, wait, Chow Chow. He says, later, I'll have tea later. I got to go to battle. Just one cup, please, just one cup. Oh, okay, just one cup. And she goes real slow and pours this tea, and she starts talking about the philosophy of brewing excellent tea and how you have to boil the water 3 times. And she goes real slow explaining all this tea ceremony and the fine art of making tea. And she delays him a couple of hours. And all the army is outside. Damn it. What's taking so long? We need to attack, you know? So finally, she overflows the teacup. And he says, you're overflowing the teacup. Well, that was symbolism. And she explains, some people want too much, and it overflows and causes problems. Something like that. And at that moment, he realizes she tricked him. So he jumps up and runs out and says, attack! So they go to battle.
Yeah, there is
And
no
the
love.
wind changes direction at that moment.
Gerard, I'm sorry, I missed your comment. Is it
Okay.
still
So
actual?
I watched just the first part of the movie, but something I found curious, you know, the main generals, they fight alone. They go to fight alone against many
Yeah.
soldiers. But that doesn't have any sense. Why they risk their life?
Yeah.
So general in their army, it's not someone who's smart, right? It's
Like
one,
a hero.
someone who's superhero, yes, who is
Yeah,
strong.
the one, the fat, a little bit fat, you know, with beer.
Yeah, the most important man goes into battle himself, you know, which is kind of stupid.
Against many soldiers without necessity, you know.
Yeah.
He's got to help the army. His army was losing, so he had to personally help the army out.
I agree. But it was, you know, it wasn't about logic as always. It's to show you a perfect picture, you know. So they are really strong, not only in their minds. Vasants, please, your comment.
Yes, that's what I thought also. What if a random soldier killed the main guy in the battlefield, and among the thousands and thousands of soldiers, who would identify that's him, and who would lead. The battle will go forever until someone identify that, okay, we lost our boss. We have no one to command. So that was a fun thing.
I like the system how they manage the battle. These small flags. I know that in medieval times they use this as well. So they don't have radio yet. So I like this. Yellow flag go there. Red flag, cavalry go. So it's nice.
Yeah.
Sergey.
And
please.
okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sergey.
I would like to notice funny hairstyles of Chinese people. They have long hairs, but they made special
Ponytail.
on the on
End
the
of a
hand.
circle.
Yeah, in the end of movie, one arrows put in the hair styles to Chow Chow and open the long shore. I understood that is the shame of him, and maybe it looks like the shame of him, shame of his kingdom.
Yeah.
The world will never be the same, right? After this.
Yeah, in China, if you ever watch any old movies, they have very elaborate hairstyles and hair bows and hats with things sticking out. It looks silly, but they're indicators of rank. So an arrow scratched his head and went through his hair bow thing and split it in half, and his hair fell down. So that was a symbol of his rank and power, and he lost that.
Yeah,
And he had
symbolism
blood
always.
coming down his head. So it was, yeah, a moment of shame, Sergey. You're right. He was kind of shamed symbolically.
Yeah,
At that,
nice.
that was the moment of his defeat.
Okay, let's wrap it up with this discussion. So, did we have happy end, Sergey? Did we?
I'm not sure, because in the end of movie, two good guys had the conversation about good battles of his
Battles?
history,
Mhm.
but they conversed between each other. Yes, bye bye, bye bye. But I'm not sure that we will not fight with you, because you are a good guy and I'm a good guy. But who knows? Who knows? And they go to different direction. And I think that the civil wars in the China history is a often story.
Yeah, usual story.
I
Yeah,
think.
happens often. Teacher Lee, is Sergey
There
right?
is one more part we want to cover. So they have the naval battle. The wind changes direction. So the good guys light ships on fire and sail them into the bad guys. The wind blows the fire toward the bad guys, and all the bad guys' ships catch on fire and burn up. So the Navy's defeated because the wind changed direction according to Juga's excellent weather prediction to the hour. Now, the other part, the bad guys got armies on land in the camp. Now, they have the map of the camp, so they know where the main gate is. They know how to get in. So Liu Bei's army rides back from nowhere and attacks the land camp. And they say, Liu Bei, he ran away. So Liu Bei attacks the land camp, and they're losing a lot of men. They can't get through the main gate. It's too strong. So the general that was making these big fire bombs, all his men are getting killed, and the Zhou Yu says, we've got to get through that gate or we're going to lose. So he says, yes, sir, leave it to me. So he grabs all these big fire bombs on his body. He's got arrows in his body, and he runs up to the gate and he throws the fire bombs there, and kaboom! And he kills himself, but blows a hole in the gate, and the Liu Bei's army goes in and they beat the bad guy's army. So he sacrificed his life with his big fire bombs that he had him create. So
happy end.
that was the ending, yeah.
Teacher Lee, was the powder invented at this time? The powder was invented?
It must have been, because that was the explosions, I assume.
Gerard, it's a good point. I read once that Chinese people, they like these myths. that powder was invented like 6,000 years ago. So that's why they put it in every movie, you know. So every movie they already have it.
No,
Yeah, I don't remember what year.
you know, they invented also the compass, but they didn't use the compass to navigate until many centuries after they knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was just a river here, so they didn't need a compass.
I think, is the river the Yellow River, the Yangtze?
I think so. I think that was the river. Yeah, the
Okay.
Yangtze River.
And
So
Mhm.
at the end of the American movie, Joe Yu and the enthusiastic sister, they're saying goodbye to Juga, and Juga's got a small pony.
Mhm.
And when they say goodbye, Juga starts taking the small pony away to go home. And the girl says, Juga, when the horse grows up, don't make him a war horse, okay? He says, okay. So it had kind of a cute, friendly ending in the American version.
Okay. And I found the word about this firing bombs. So the word is incendiary. Actually, does it?
Yep, incendiary means it causes fire. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, okay, let's go to make some slides. I know we lost a lot of time, but the story was long, right? The movie was long. Sergey, can you read this? What's
Cool.
it?
Looks Chinese. Yeah, it's nice.
Calligraphy.
Yeah.
And it's made by Vasants, as always, our
Artist.
artist. Yeah.
Very nice. Yep.
Jana, sorry, Josefina, please, could you describe this picture for us?
Which picture?
Can you
Oh,
share?
this the sign. Well, obviously looks very Chinese, and then it's like ¿cómo se llama? Like the way they write. So the writing and straight lines. Okay.
Yes, a big castle, big hall, I would say.
Yeah.
This guy is a king, Chinese king.
This is where
Yeah,
Chow
that's it.
Chow's intimidating the king to give him authority to go attack the South.
Yeah. And who are these guys who are kneeling here? Josephina, what do you think? There are a lot of guys in the hall. Who are they? I guess it's advisors, or how we call this, consuls. Someone who advise the king what to do. Usually, how we would call them.
Yeah, I'd call that. Just they're his cabinet members, if you will, that advise him. And they did not want to attack the two kingdoms. They wanted peace.
Mm-hmm.
But Chow Chow wanted war, and Chow Chow threatened the king because Chow Chow put this young boy in his position. So the young boy was afraid of Chow Chow. So even though all his people said, don't go to war, he told him to shut up. Chow Chow, go to war.
We can see a massive army behind him with flags, black flags, and black mean something bad, I guess. I've read somewhere that black mean death in Chinese, but I'm not sure.
No, white means death. When they
okay.
Yeah, white means death.
Okay, so
I don't know what black means. Red is happy. Red is happy. Yeah.
Okay, Sergey, please, it's for you.
There are rebellions from province where Chinese people fights. And,
I'm sorry, Sergey. I'm sorry, Sergey. Rebellions, it's something who are riots, you know, who are riots. They are refugees. They are escaping.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of horses, and some fighters with spikes, with armor. And the interesting moment, and during watching the movie, each soldier wears armor, but each time arrows go through armor. why they use this armor. I don't understand. For what? Maybe
It's
for
just a uniform, you know, for beauty.
For sword slashes.
but it's not convenience, I think.
Not convenient, yeah. It's not functional, I would say, yes, according to the movie. Okay, a lot of refugees, and there was a special story, like
yes,
refugees.
flags and horses with goods from the five places, and mountains on the left side, and hill on the right side.
Mhm.
Maybe it's all.
I remember that in this scene, Liu Bei said, "We have to protect our like civilians, not only
Yep.
warriors." So it's draw him like a good man, I guess.
Yep.
Vasant, your comment, please.
Yes, I heard from an army professional. He says a bulletproof jacket would kill you more likely than a bullet. You know, it's with heavy weight and it will choke you like anything. So it's hard to breathe. And if you are a security personnel who have to stand on the entrance with a bulletproof, that's really a punishment, you know.
Yeah, I remember that. You know, nowadays these bulletproof jackets they made of Kevlar. Actually, what is Kevlar? It's kind of
It's a light material that's more
Yeah.
comfortable to wear.
yeah. When I was young and has my army practice, it was made of zinc or something, so made of metal and weighed like 20-something kilograms.
Yeah, it's similar.
So I still enjoyed it. Better not to wear it never. Gerard, please.
Do you know that security woods? So if you are a worker, you would wood with before they had some metal in the tip of the wood. So if something fall down, so to protect your toes, you know. Now it's made by Kevlar because the former one was made with metal, and if the weight was very high, heavy, it could cut your toes. So now Kevlar it like breaks like glass.
Yeah.
It's less dangerous.
Yeah, but we just shared that I and Sergey as well. We tried to this made of metal jackets in army, and I would not recommend that anyone.
Why?
Like the knights. Yeah.
Okay, Gerard, please. What is
Okay,
happening?
here I see the general I was talking about. You know, this guy in the middle, this general
Yes,
wanted to fight.
Yes.
When they were in the tortoise formation, it wasn't necessary, but this guy wanted to fight. So he entered inside to fight against the enemies alone against many. It was very crazy. I think once in a first battle, I think the enemy, Cao Cao, let him escape.
Yep.
Was it him?
I guess it was another guy, but
Another
it
guy
was
similar.
yeah.
It might have been him.
Yeah,
In
I
one
think so.
version of the story, yeah,
Mhm.
Cao Cao captures this guy, but lets him go free, and then later he has a chance to kill Cao Cao, but because Cao Cao let him live, he lets Cao Cao live at the end. So a little bit of an honor exchange in the bigger story
So he spared Cao Cao's life.
at the end. Yeah.
And you know, ciao means in Italian means hello or goodbye. Ciao, ciao.
Yeah, different in Chinese, but
It's a coincidence, I guess.
Yeah.
How would we call this? Brows like bushy or something. A lot of hair on his face, right? I would like to find some adjective for this. So can I say bushy brows?
usually we call it scraggly.
Scraggly.
Means it's kind of untidy, scraggly beard. Yeah.
Yeah,
And can we call this hair on the top bun?
Yeah. Bun. Yep.
Okay. So I remember he saved a baby of his king in the battle, but
it was this guy on the left. It was his wife and baby.
Yeah.
So he said, I saved your son, but your wife I couldn't save. And that's why he bowed down and said, I'm so sorry. And he hugged him and said, at least you saved my son. Yeah.
Not bad already. Okay, so something happened. Vasants, please describe this one.
Yeah, this is the place the strategist is discussing about making an ally with the other kings, and they're having lunch or something. It's more like natural food, uncooked food, you know.
Raw, right? Raw.
Yeah, raw food. Yes, raw food. They're keeping chopsticks on their hand, and we can see a huge bucket. I think that could be a sauce or something with a liquid food on the right side of the king. So it could be a food.
Not quite curry, is it? Indian curry?
Yeah. No.
They're sitting in Chinese manner, right? Without chairs on the floor.
Either low stools or on the floor. Yeah, I can't tell.
And behind the king, there is a drape kind of.
Yeah,
What
made
do you
of.
call? Yeah.
So
Something to
drape.
hide something.
Yes, I guess it's made of silk. You know, another thing that China is very proud of. So silk, powder, compass, all these things. They have a lot of.
Behind him, you'll see some branches that are woven together to make kind of a little mat or a privacy screen. When you kind of weave them in and out like that with tree branches, we call that thatched.
Thatched.
So thatched straw mat. Sometimes we use that as a roof. We'll thatch branches together and make a thatched roof.
Do you call the material hemp? Hemp?
Hemp might be hemp. I'm not sure what hemp looks like exactly, but rope is made from hemp. Yeah. It might be stiff when it's not made into rope. Yep.
Okay, let's go to the next one. It's king, right? Young king. Behind him, a piece of art. I couldn't tell what is this. It's bas-relief. Is it a word? Not.
Bas-relief, yeah.
Kind of. So I can see dragons on it and something.
Usually they like dragons and pheasants.
Yeah. And I'm impressed by his head. So this, I don't know, this rope. So what is this? Jingle all the time.
Yeah.
This hanging bead.
Beads. Yeah. The
bead
little
is,
round.
Yeah, small sphere, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the thing on the left, it's pretty mysterious. I guess it's not for tea, but for some calligraphy, I guess.
Calligraphy or some kind of royal stamp. I don't know. I can't tell. Yeah.
Well, and this scrolls, can I say these scrolls?
Yep,
5
scrolls made of bamboo.
Made of bamboo, yeah. Probably
bamboo scrolls.
For orders.
Yep.
Not much we can tell about this, right? Okay, let's describe this one. Where we stopped. Sergey, could you? Josephina and Leila left us.
Yeah, there are some ships, and I think this is ships of good guys.
Nope.
And it's strange ships with one matched.
Yeah, how we call this? How we call this big, thing that pole? Yeah,
yeah, mast. We call it the mast.
Mast.
Yeah.
It holds the sail. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
When one mast, it's not European stylish ships, and in European stylish ships we can see three mast, and I think this is because it's not sea ships. It's a river ship, and
Yep.
some people, some fighters, and two stairs, and in the place for captain, in the in both sides of ship, we can see special windows for maybe for
Cannons, I guess.
arms.
To shoot from cannon, no?
Yeah, for cannon. But I'm not sure that they had some cannon this time. But I'm not.
What if this windows for shovels? You know, to shove, no?
For the oars to go out, I think they're too high for that. I think they're just like to shoot arrows. You can shoot arrows out the windows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
Protection.
Please ask.
I'm wondering whether you told us that they got seasick, but can you be really seasick in a river? Because in a river you don't have much movement, you know, it's not like the waves of the water or the sea.
I agree. Yeah.
The rivers are pretty calm and there are no waves.
Yeah.
Sergey, what do you think? Is it a real ship or computer graphics?
Is it one real ships and different types of different kinds of ships? It's computer graphic.
Yeah. On the left, it's doesn't look real to me.
Yeah.
And I would call such ships like a descent boats or something. So they carry like troops to the place, but they not a battleship, in my opinion. So what they can? Yeah, no cannons, nothing. Yeah, but it's interesting. I see that we have a lack of vocabulary according to ships, so we need more pictures about ships. So I did not know this mast and sail and all this. Yeah, Vasant, please.
Yes, and I wonder why the soldiers are always standing, even they are traveling. You know, they should have rest. You know.
Well, it looks like in China they never have rest. They're always staying. They always staying close together. They always making formations and never rest. It's how it looks. Yeah, it's interesting question. Oh, okay, nice one.
Oh.
Zhaz, please. What is this?
This is the tortoise formation.
Mhm.
So they entrap them, they attract them with the girls to this trap. And first of all, we can say that first of all, the enemy receive a rain of arrows, you know. So they well prepared. They shot many arrows. They killed many of them before they did this formation, and they went inside this labyrinth. And the labyrinth was moving. There was some drums played that the drums made some signals, so how they should change the formation. So they will train and prepare to do many maneuvers to kill the soldier. I like the ones that they had spears with knives, you know, to attack the cows of the soldiers, and they kill many of them with this strategy. And the other maneuver, you know, the one that with ropes, like in rodeo, no, in cowboy movies, you know, they throw these ropes.
We call it lasso. I don't know.
Lasso.
Teacher, you're muted or your mic is.
Oh, sorry, my dogs are barking. Yep, lasso. Yep, lassos.
So they pull the rope, and then inside they kill the soldiers. Was another good strategy.
Okay.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, it's very beautiful, especially with it flying when they shoot it from the top, you know, like from the drone.
Is it real, Ivan, or computer generated? You know, all these people.
Well, you know, I don't know if it will be a Russian or Bollywood movies. I would say it's a computer graphic, but it's a Chinese movie, so I don't know.
They have many people.
Yeah, I agree.
They have many extra people, even I guess even for free.
Cheap actors, yeah.
They have many well-disciplined, trained actors, so who knows? But it's interesting that you know these shields, they are very massive. So it's almost like you bring a castle with you, you know, this massive shields. But in the moment after the battle, they show the same field, and there is nothing, only people. So it doesn't look like.
Do you remember the strategy of the shields like mirrors?
Yeah.
It was very nice
Ah.
also. I think it was the first battle. Was it? The first
Yeah.
battle? Very nice.
Yeah, seemed like the backside of the shields, yeah, were
To-
reflective, yeah.
Yeah, how we can say to blind the enemy, right? With
Yep.
Shine, dazzle.
Dazzle, yep.
Okay, so what is this? Masans, tell us about this.
These are the dead soldiers affected by typhoid. They were sent by the boats. The peasants, or how do you say that, the citizens of southern land took them and laid down on the banks of the river. You can see there are soldiers inspecting the bodies. They were laid down on some mat. Maybe they're made by bamboos. That's all we can see.
So they don't wear socks like we do, right? They wear how we call this? Usually, you shared an article recently about this.
Oh, that was Russians.
Yeah, but it's similar to that.
Just cloth strips, just cloth wrapped around the feet.
Yeah, we had them. We had them in recently. We I don't know, Sergey, when we canceled these strips in favor of socks in army. A few years ago, I think.
I think this is during 15th.
50. Okay, so 5 years ago.
50s.
Okay.
Yeah, 50.
2050 will.
Yeah,
2050.
because when I go to the army, I have strips.
Yeah, we
Oh.
have strips. Yeah, but
Oh, that's
it's not why. It's not because we are poor or something. It's because we believe that it's more convenient. That you can you can dry it fast in case you need. You can replace them fast, and
because
it's an extra protection.
because socks for soldiers are bad.
Yeah, we believe so. I don't know. It looks like people disagree with us, but
Yeah.
but we canceled it like 5 years ago maybe. Yeah, and
Okay.
canceled it
Maybe.
not. Yeah.
Maybe not yet.
And we canceled it only because of more young generation. They don't want to learn how to make strips.
My son can road
Yeah, mine as well. Whenever we go to camping, we use that instead of something.
yeah.
Okay, okay, this one is nice. Sergey, please tell us about this.
Yeah, it's a trick with collection arrows. It's in a ship with a lot of arrows with white wings, and with artificial people
Scary
Call them
crow,
dummies. Yeah.
dummies. Okay.
and foggy around of ships and so, but I don't know.
Masans, please.
Yes, we use such dummy figures in agriculture field to avoid birds and animals.
Scarecrows?
Called
Me?
scarecrow, right? Scarecrow
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
We use them as well, but we don't make them from straw anymore.
Straw.
We use like from plastic or something, so, from metal. But I always like it when it's old-fashioned, when it's made of straw. When I was young, it was an art, These dummies. Okay, so that tactic works, but flags looks very boring. Only red, without any hieroglyphs, any
Yeah.
characters.
Chinese flag.
Maybe it's just so you know which direction the wind's blowing. I don't know.
Maybe. Okay. Okay, we ran out of time, so I'm stopping sharing. Thank you very much. It was a nice movie. Actually, I enjoyed it. Really, it's different. It's very different to what we used to, but it's
Yeah.
interesting, you know. to
I
have
agree.
something
I
new.
agree.
And guys, for the next classes, we are going to make this Gone by Wind.
Gone with the wind.
Gone with Wind. Gone with Wind.
That's forbidden in America now.
Maybe I can't find it. We'll see.
None in HBO. None in HBO. Many more.
Gone with Wind. It's a movie who stopped to show to HBO. Yes.
Yeah. Everyone knows.
Everything
Wow,
is again.
it's a high level of risks.
So, but probably we will make it part by part, you know, not to make a rush, to explain well. Yeah.
It's a 4-hour movie, so we can't do it all at once.
You have 1 week.
So please start watching and watch first hour at least. So
Layla will
Watch
come for
5
sure.
hours of Red Cliff.
Yeah. So what this movie's about, it's really a romance, but it's set in our Civil War days where the North and the South were fighting. So you're going to see some of the culture of the old South when we had slaves, house slaves, and field slaves. So you'll see a lot of Southern culture that doesn't exist anymore. But this movie to me was a very romantic movie, and I enjoyed seeing the old South traditions that died and we don't see anymore. But even today, Southern Americans in the South are considered more courteous and friendlier than the people up north. And this is because we have this tradition of plantations and kind of partying and being courteous and polite to women. So that's more of a Southern tradition. So you'll see a lot of that in this movie. Parts of it are funny on purpose. So I think you might enjoy it. And you'll see some of the war, how nasty the war was.
So please prepare us the best questions about Southern culture. You know, maybe it's the last chance
Yeah.
to know. Who knows? You know.
Yeah, before it's forbidden. This movie is forbidden.
Yeah,
Like
we're
Mein
tearing
Kampf.
down all the statues.
Like the book Mein Kampf.
The flag is forbidden. We can't show the Southern flag anymore.
Okay, so thank you again. Bye. See
Bye,
you.
bye,
Thank you very much.
See you.
Bye.